I thought that May, right? It was May. I think I thought that that was going to be my worst reading month of the year, which like actually that's kind of subjective because here's the thing, actually, I read a lot of 5-star books this month, but I only read 6 books in June. So, it should be a fairly quick video today. I was on vacation. I went to Book Bonanza in June, and like before that trip, like I was busy leading up to it. And then after, when I got back, I was just like busy. It took a while to recover from that trip. And I don't know, y'all, I just didn't really read that many books this month. I only have the 6, so it should be fairly quick. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in. So the first book that I read this month is actually my favorite that I read of the month. I have a cat hair. There we go. Stuck to my lips. Okay. My favorite book that I read this month is My Life in Shambles by Karina Halley. So I actually have a full reading vlog covering this book. However, I don't think I did that many check-ins of it because I just like couldn't put it down and just kept on reading and reading. So this one, Podrick and Valerie. I think I'm saying Podrick's name right. But anyways, so this one, so Valerie, she recently breaks up with her ex-fiance and she loses her job. She gets laid off of her job and she is just kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going to go? Just kind of like flailing a little bit. And her sisters, her 2 older sisters, have a trip planned to Ireland that they are going to go on together, and they invite her to go. And before she had said no because of work, and now she's like, you know what, I don't really have anything holding me back, so screw it, I'm gonna go ahead and go with you guys. And then when she gets over there, one night they're out at a pub and she ends up meeting Podrick and they hit it off. They have a great night together and they really get connected. Podrick is a rugby player, but he is currently not playing right now because of an injury that he got, and he is dealing with some family stuff as well. His dad is actually dying, and he ends up proposing to Valerie for her to come home with him and pretend to be his fake fiance, so that way his dad can kind of see that like he's in a good space before his dad passes away. And Valerie at first is like, this is crazy, I can't do this, but then she's also like, you know what, I'm saying yes to things and why not? And she ends up going home with him. So it's like fake dating. And this book was very emotional. It was so much more emotional than I thought it would be. And the other thing that really got me with this book that I did not expect was just the connection between these 2 characters. It had been so long since I've read a romance where it wasn't like I was reading the connection, but I felt the connection between the 2 of them. And I just like loved every single interaction that they had, even like with their whole romance kind of starting with a one-night stand. Like normally I don't like that because then I feel like it moves too quickly, but even there was so much emotion in that first time together so quickly that this book just absolutely blew me away. Literally a new favorite of mine. It was absolutely amazing. You know, everyone that says all the great things about it, like I know Sam from Sam Reads a Little, this is like her favorite book, and I totally see why. It was incredible. Like I have 0 complaints about this book, and if you want to see more of my thoughts, I have that reading vlog. Okay, then I read Keep Her Safe by QB Tyler. So I read this one as an arc, but it did come out this past month as well, and y'all know I absolutely loved this. I loved this one. Is it my favorite QB Tyler book? No. Always Been You has not been dethroned, and I'd say it's maybe like top 5. I still don't even think, like, I don't think it beats like Bittersweet Duet or like Forget Me Not, but it's up there. Like I really enjoyed this one a lot. So this one is a bodyguard romance and age gap romance. So this one follows Shay and Damien. So Shay is a famous actress and Damien is her bodyguard. So Shay is currently working on a show right now. It's getting ready. I think is it going into its final season. So she's kind of gearing up for award shows and just everything that kind of comes with that. However, she has been dating this one guy who's like another they're like actor or whatever, and she finds out right at the beginning that he has been cheating on her, and she immediately is like, oh, we're done, like I'm not putting up with you and with this. However, both of their media teams are like, hey, we don't really want you breaking up in public yet because of all of this award show and press that's going to be coming around for the both of you. Like he has a big movie, she has this show, and they're like, it wouldn't be good for you guys to break up. So they have to continue dating. However, she is like done with him. And now that she's done with him, she's like, you know who I really want? My bodyguard. She's wanted her bodyguard for years. However, he kind of shot her down years ago, and now she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna tempt him until he'll say yes. And Damien, he's been protecting Shay for years, and he has really grown a close bond to her, and both of her parents passed away in an accident years ago, and he was actually going to leave because he felt too tempted by her. But then after her parents passed away, he knew that he couldn't leave her as well, and that he needed to be the one there to watch out for her, and he ends up staying. And then he just can't resist Shay when she starts putting the moves on him, and it ends up being their romance. I really enjoyed this one. You know, the forbidden aspect of it, it's there, but also like they just don't care about that, which I'm like, yeah, get together because for my enjoyment, thank you. The ending had a little bit of like oh, twist to it that I enjoyed. So anyways, really enjoyed this one. Absolutely would recommend and loved it. So I got this mixed up in the order. This was actually the first book that I read this month, and it is also in that new to me authors vlog, and that is Between Hello and Goodbye by Emma Scott, another friend favorite of a lot of my friends. They all really enjoy this book. Do you have to start leaf blowing right now? Okay, I think they're like far enough away for me to keep going here because like I said, I literally only have 6 books, so I just want to get this wrapped up. So Between Hello and Goodbye by Emma Scott. So this one I also absolutely loved this month. Again, amazing, one of my favorites that I read. And so this one follows Faith and Asher. So Faith is a city girl. She lives in Seattle, and she is just a bit of a party girl, and she's really good at her job. However, her job wants to make her a partner because she does so well in her advertising. Like, I think she does like advertising and like marketing and clients, and want to make her a partner. However, they're like, you're not reliable. She shows up late. She's out. Like, she's just kind of like flaky a little bit. So even though she's great at her job, they just don't like trust her enough to be able to give her this promotion without her kind of like reevaluating and like kind of checking herself a little bit. They're like, you know what, you need to take some time off, and when you come back, like we'll rediscuss. So she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Hawaii and like try to find myself. No boys, no drinking, just like being at one with herself, being on the beach, being in nature, that kind of thing. And actually when she's there and she's hiking on her very first day there, she ends up twisting her ankle really badly and has to get like helicoptered out of this area. And one of the rescuers that shows up ends up being Asher, and he sees her and they kind of have a bit of a banter as she's getting pulled out of this ravine. He kind of sees her and at first is kind of like stupid tourist, kind of like whatever. But then as he finally gets to kind of see like who she is, he's like, oh, she really doesn't have anyone to help her or take care of her. So he ends up showing up and he kind of helps rehabilitate her while she's there a little bit, and then also showing her around, and they eventually have a romance. And Asher was a city guy. He was big on Wall Street, and that lifestyle was like literally killing him. So he ended up moving to Hawaii. So it's very like city girl meets like chill, laid back island boy kind of thing. And they definitely have conflicting lifestyles, but that doesn't mean that they don't want to be together. And it ends up being like a long distance relationship between them, and things happen. I don't want to like accidentally spoil anything else, so I'll just leave it there. I truly loved this book. I crave seeing long distance relationships in books, and I was really happy to see one that worked out where they both were willing to make sacrifices for the other, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was heartbreaking. I cried in this book. It was so good. Overall, I just, again, absolutely loved it, and again, I see why so many people love it. Okay, so those were my 3 favorites, my 3 5 stars of the month. And then I have 3 others. Another one that I really liked, one that I kind of liked, and one that I did not like. And the one that I did not like was The Doctor's Duties by Carrie-Ann Hall, I think is how you pronounce her name. So this one, I was texted by one of my friends, and they were like, dude, most unhinged things that I've ever read, with like a screenshot of it. And I was like, sold. Because y'all know I'm just a connoisseur of unhinged things, especially like unhinged novellas. Like that's kind of like, I love reading unhinged things and finding the most like wild out of pocket things. So when I was challenged with that, I was like, sold. So the premise of this one is that our heroine is applying for a job at this new hospital. And when she gets there, she ends up having to do like a full physical evaluation. And during that evaluation, her doctor / new boss finds something about her that he wants to study. And the whole practice is a certain kind of study. And he wants to study her and make her a patient. And it's her being evaluated by him before she starts this new job. Y'all, I don't know how to like talk about this even. Truly, I think this might be one of the least favorite things I've ever read in my entire life, and I wish I could get back the hour and a half that I spent reading it. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I just would literally never recommend it. I'm so sorry. But please don't Like, please don't. It's not even like fun unhinged. It's just like repetitive and like cringy unhinged. I don't know. Not for me, and I want to move on and I want to forget about it and put it to the back of my brain. Next up that I read and did enjoy was Last Resort by Kay Bromberg. So this one, again, I read for that New to Me Authors reading vlog, so you can see my full thoughts in that. This one, our heroine, she also works for like a marketing type company, and one night she ends up having a one-night stand with this guy. They hit it off, really hot, whatever, and then the next morning she has this big business meeting that she gets called into, and when she walks into the boardroom, she sees her one-night stand, but tripled, and she doesn't know which of the triplets was her one-night stand. And the three brothers, the three triplets, they are very wealthy business owner men, and they have this one resort that their father bought for their company, and now he has passed, and that is really run down and is in need of some help. So they are hiring the heroine's firm that she works for to kind of like do like a whole upheaval of it, and she ends up being put on this resort, and she ends up having to fly. I don't know where it is. It's in some like tropical location that she ends up having to go and live at this resort and work and overhaul it. And then she realizes that her one night stand, the one brother that she did hook up with, is also going to be there and working on it as well. And it ends up being their romance. Here's my thing. I think it was my mood more than anything, that my mood towards this last half of the month, and I think coming off of 3-5 stars, it was just like I was slumpy. My life in Shambles really put me in a slump. And so I had to finish this one for a vlog though, and I was just not in the mood for it, but that does not mean that I wouldn't recommend it or that I think it was a bad book. I just personally was not in the mood for it at the time that I read it, but it's a really fun, like, boss, employee, one night stand, kind of like dislike to love after that one night stand kind of vibes. It was really enjoyable and like probably like the perfect summer read. Just wasn't my favorite that I read over the course of the month, but that purely I think was based on my mood and not on the book itself. And last but not least, so I ended up DNFing our Smut Club pick. So FatherinLaw by H.J. Stallard. So I didn't even, like, I'm not counting this as a read. I'm just like talking about it because like normally my wrap-ups, I talk about both of the book club books, and I ended up DNFing this one. The writing style was just not working for me. It was not clicking with me, and I just, like I said, I've been really slumpy and I was not in the mood to like push myself to read something that I didn't want to read. But then my last book that I read was our Out of Bounds book club pick, The Wicked by Rosie Alice, and I really, really enjoyed this one a lot. So this one is a student-teacher romance, and it follows Hayden and what was her name? Penelope. Hayden and Penelope, because they were H and P. So Penelope, she is returning back to her hometown after graduating college, and her father is dying. She was adopted by her parents when she was like, she was like early teens, I think, like maybe like 13 or 14. So she was in foster care, and then this couple came in and adopted her, and she grew really, really close with them and has a really close bond with her parents now. And her dad is unfortunately dying. He has cancer. So she returns back to her hometown to be able to spend some time with him and also to start teaching at this high school in this town. And she's going to be shadowing this history teacher for a year. It's like a private school. It's like kind of a bougie school. So she's going to be shadowing this history teacher for a year until this teacher retires, and then she will take over her position after that. And when she arrives back in town, she ends up going out to a club one night, and she meets Hayden there, and she finds him in a closet doing something, and they end up, doing some things together and kind of start like this whirlwind romance before school starts. And it turns out that Hayden is going to be her student. And when we meet Hayden originally, he is in a very dark place. His mother has passed, and his father has always kind of like blamed him for her death, and he just like has pretty much left Hayden alone. He's a very, very wealthy businessman, so Hayden has everything that he needs, like in terms of like money, car, food, house, but he has like no love or connection from his father and has just like left him. And Hayden is in a really dark place, and he does a lot of drugs and he drinks a lot, and he's just kind of doing anything to like feel something. And when he meets Penelope, he really like starts to realize that he's liking her and that they're really starting to connect. And actually, before the school year starts, he finds out that Penelope is his teacher, but because he is a toxic little dude, he does not tell her until he literally shows, because he's like, it'll be fun if I just show up and like be like, hey, I'm your student. It's a very toxic romance between these two. And actually, at the beginning of this book, I'd say in like the first 50%, I was kind of like, everything was moving kind of quickly, not in terms of like their love, but like things were kind of going fast for a student-teacher romance to be like, how are we going to resolve this? And then there actually is a time jump, and the time jump pulled this whole entire book together for me. Seeing them years later, there's something that happens, and then seeing them years later. It was so good. If you need like the toxicity, you need some good spice, you need a little bit of darkness thrown in there. Like truly these two characters are bad for each other, but they like couldn't get enough of each other. I absolutely love that. And I really, really enjoyed this book. This is the first book that I've ever read by Rosie Alice, and I definitely want to check out more. That was that book and really enjoyed it. So yeah, those were the only 6 books that I read this month. So pretty quick for you. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna have up next week. We'll see. But yeah, that's it for today's video, and I will see you when I see ya.